think there is a conspiracy to pass all the excitement to us at night. I really wish. I really wish they had finished during the daytime so people can actually absorb what is happening.
Yeah.
This idea that results are finished at night, it's just not proper.
Exactly.
And it goes back to what I was asking one of the observers yesterday about electoral reform, Sami Todo. That, this idea that the results have to arrive by canoe, by donkey, by wheelbarrow, it's just backward.
Absolutely.
It's just backward. I was listening to some of the ad hoc staff during the day, speaking with our correspondents in Bayelsa. And one lady in particular said, that she slept on the boat overnight in the middle of the water. Someone that has never, someone that was just posted somewhere to serve.
Yes. It's shocking.
The person has to sleep in a boat in the middle of the water overnight. How does that happen? If that boat had just sunk and disappeared, we have no idea what happened to all of them.
Absolutely no idea.
What's that about? That's why technology always takes civilization forward. The idea that these very same results that everybody signed, took pictures of, cannot then be sent electronically. There are ways you can send things electronically and it will have a stamp on it and signature, something that you verify. And all the agents at the Collation Center will get exactly the same copy. Exactly the same copy. And then they just check with their own agent from the, wherever it was sent, that it matches what the INEX. And if there is any difference, you will know in less than 10 seconds.
And this ultimately reduces the risk associated with
the risk, the
exercise.
time.
It makes it more transparent because.
So if anything is collated differently, you just say, excuse me, the one I got from my agent there says, there are 2 more votes than what the INEC person sent. And you can reconcile that faster than the thing arriving by donkey.
Because most of the returning officers, especially for Bayelsa, which has taken a break now, just like in Kogi State, I guess to wait for the remainder 2 local government, I guess to heighten the drama.
Those ones are still on the way somewhere. Now, the person losing or winning will look at the total of the thing that is on the way and say, I beg, go and ambush that boat. that boat cannot arrive.
Which incidentally, for Bayelsa State, the APC so far has polled in 206,000 to 60 votes to the PDP's 119,930. So it's almost a margin of over 85,000 votes separating the candidate of the People's Democratic Party.
And people are speculating as to whether
Congress.
the remaining local governments, even if it goes to the other main party, whether it can even bridge the gap or not. But you see the mess we are in. This raises another drama.
Yeah.
If APC wins in Bayelsa,
Yeah.
I said if, big capital if, there will be another twist to our electoral process. That a party without candidates won an election.
I know the irony of all the local government returning officers announcing the results, and the agents for the different parties say we'll meet in court. We'll meet in court. So it got to a point where one person got up and then I think that was for Sagbama, and then he had just said a line. I'm hearing everything being said here. We'll meet in court, and the entire hall burst out in laughter.
Even within APC, they are going to meet in court. Yes, because the aspirants within that party will be like, if they win, they will be like, So the person that wins the, in quotes, the primary now is the winner. So they are going to come to blows, even within their own party. Because it will, if they win, it will be apparent that whoever wins that battle will become governor.
Very true.
Which would have been different from if that process had been concluded before the actual election. So they will come to blows within their own party, and then at the same time they will be exchanging blows with every other party, whether in courts or otherwise. No, it's not looking good at all.
Okay, so plenty of drama going on. We're going to go on a break shortly, and when we come back from the break, we will connect with Judges Mark Nobosedowu and Philip Nweli, who were just about...
Because that Kogi drama...
it's about to...
It's,
in the next 5 minutes, they'll be resuming.
Even that one, I was just shaking my head. Apparently, there was a fake concession speech.
We're going to get to that very soon.
Reasonably well written. Until the man came out and said, I beg, I can't concede to somebody that... to quote him, stole his victory.
All right. So let's take this quick break. Rotimi, Sankore, and I will be back, and we'll be connected with Judges Mark Nobosedowu on the election coverage studio right after this. So please don't go anywhere.
This is Nigeria Info Election Coverage Studio. This is Nigeria Info Election Coverage Studio.
2 states, 2 destinies, 2 jobs, and the huge weight of expectation from over 1 million voters will help define the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. And Nigeria Info will be right there through the campaign, election day, and the announcement of results. Join Nigeria Info's 360 coverage of the polls from 8 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th of November, and Sunday, 17th of November. Our team of reporters will provide live interviews and feeds on radio and social media platforms, all in real time. Nigeria Info, your #1 news, talk, and sports station.
This is Nigeria Info Election Coverage Studio.
All right, and so we will go to Kogi to meet with Judges Mark Nobosedowu and Philip Nweli. Both of them dusted. So last time I spoke with them, they were they said they were just taking a chill outside the venue. And they were taking a chill outside the venue, and now they are about to resurrect because the collation is about to continue for Dekina. Results announced rather for Dekina, Ibaji, as well as Lokoja. 3 local government areas to be announced. Judges.
Yeah.
All right. After a long day work, I said,
Judges, you are sounding tired. Were you guys able to sleep at all?
We slept, but we left the hotel at 5.
Yes,
So
I could see you guys were there at 5:30, and you were sending visuals of the hall even before it was reopened. Well done. At least no Mago could have happened without you guys being there. So tell us, this Wada drama, what exactly happened with that so-called concession speech?
We were able to confirm from him that that news is a fake news, because while I was inside the collation center, Philip went to block their convoy on the road. So he actually stopped them on the road, and the man was able to confirm that he never made any speech, I never sent any press statement.
So it's not that they issued it or that they had drafted it and then it leaked. It's not from them at all. It's not mistaken. It's not premature.
It's not from them. The man said he never, and in fact he never issued any statement, and he never considered.
All right, Georges, for the benefit of our audience who did not get that exclusive interview we grabbed with the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, let's play it and let's hear what
he told Phil.
What Musa Wada told Phil.
It is not the reflection of the wishes of the people. Results were written in accordance with their own wishes, and of course, I would be stupid to come and say I've congratulated somebody who robbed me of my victory. Where is the democracy? When you see a police commissioner coming to stay in the collation center in my local government from last night to this morning, what was his mission there? Where is the democracy? When the helicopter from the police force will come and pour tear gas on my supporters in Ghana, knowing full well that is one of my strongest holds. Where is the democracy here?
All right, there you have Musa Wada, the governorship candidate for the People's Democratic Party. Rotimi, this doesn't sound like a man who's considered defeat in any way, apparently aggrieved with the way the whole thing has happened for him.
Well, from what we can gather, from what he has said, the denials from Wada of PDP, somebody somewhere went and crafted an apparently well-written and empathic concession speech, and then started sharing it through WhatsApp and social media.
Yes, and then that went everywhere.
So what that tells us now is that candidates in future elections must have their denial ready of the fake concession.
Yes.
That
and you know that this could happen to them. Georges, are you still there? Hello, Georges.
there's a technological.
Okay, we'll try and connect again with Georges Baknobusedo and Phil Nweli, the correspondents at the State Collation Center in Lokoja, where we're waiting the results of 3 local government areas. Results have been released so far. In number of altogether, I think I can get the number now, 18 out of 21 local government areas. So we're still waiting for Lokoja, also for...
They had to resume at 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30. So maybe he's trying to... Hello, Georges. Okay, we'll try and connect with him, but that contest is also on. Same with the Bayelsa. So, like Rotimi said, they have set us up for the night shift with the results set to be announced, sooner rather than later for both.
So if you are just joining, you better stick with us. You better stick with us until the results are known.
So what I can do, I see a number of you trying to get with us on social media, asking for some of the results that have been released. I think I can run through Kogi State results that have been announced so far for the ones we have here, we're looking at only the top three parties. APC, PDP, and SDP, top three parties in Kogi State for all the local governments that have been released so far, 18 out of 21. So I'll do half and then maybe we can get back to judges. And then Adavi, the APC has 64,657 local government areas, while the PDP has 366, SDP 279. Okay, I think we have judges back, so I could get back to those announcements of results that have been released so far once.
Hello, judges.
Hello.
Okay, so we have you back.
Yeah.
Has the coalition center in Kogi resumed?
Yeah, I'm just walking in now.
Okay, so what is left now?
We are left with local government, Kina local government, and Abaji local government.
So just 3 to go.
Just 3.
Okay.
And the indicators, the pointers are saying that the PDP will take it.
Sorry, the pointers are
saying that the PDP will take the 3.
Okay. It's just pointers, so.
Yes.
It's just pointers. As you know, if you are driving in Lagos, that somebody's pointer is saying they will turn left doesn't mean they're actually going to turn left. It's just a pointer.
Oh boy.
All right. So with those 3 at the speed they were going all day.
Yeah.
So that may be what, 1 an hour?
That is if we go at the same speed, in another 1.5 hours we should be through with it.
Okay, you think they can do it in one local government in half an hour?
Yes. They've not been taking so much time. It's just for 2 cases where the professors do not really have their arithmetic or perhaps their calculation.
So between 8 and 8:30, they may start reading the final.
You know, after they've gotten all the collated results, INEC officials, returning officers, direct, the hosting.
Everybody will sign.
They will go inside after. They'll go inside first, go and do the calculation, then bring it back before they will not give everybody to sign. They will announce it before they will not give everyone to sign. So that might take some time as well. Them leaving the collation center to go into the INEC office, then coming back with their own. They will transfer everything into their own their spreadsheet.
Their own form.
Exactly. So I haven't done that. Then they will now announce it before they will now ask every state agent to sign.
Oh, wow. And all this will be written by hand.
Exactly. That's
all I'm trying to buy projector, computer, and spreadsheet, and type it so that we can watch the thing on the billboard there.
Yes, we are looking at 10 o'clock, 10:30. Everything should be over.
You know, judges, while we're focusing also on the governorship election in Kogi State for the results, there's also this unfinished matter with the Kogi West Senatorial District where Dino Milai and Smart Adeyemi are squared one against the other. What are you hearing from the Kogi West Senatorial election?
And you know, the Kogi West Senatorial election is 3 senatorial districts, but the results we have so far, we have that of Yagba West local government, which APC top. We have Yagba East, APC, PDP took that. We have Mokpa, Mobo local government, which APC took. We have Ijumo local government, APC took that too. Then we have Kogi local government, which APC took. Then we have Kababunu local government, which APC took as well. We are waiting for local government now.
Oh, okay. Same within Lokoja. Well, is the same Lokoja were also waiting to for at the governorship level.
And this drama about the senatorial race results being announced elsewhere.
Yes, actually they have the collation center based in Lokoja here, but the court ruling, the court judgment that actually order for a rerun was based on the fact that the result of that particular election was announced at Lokoja here instead of being announced at Kaba, which is the headquarters, the senatorial headquarters. So, but now what we have now is that they are collating it here, but we are sure that they are going to do the announcement of the results at the Kaba headquarters.
So, just hang on. When they finish in the main collation center, then they will drive down to Kaba to go and make the announcement.
That's because that is the headquarters of the senatorial district. That is for the senatorial election.
So, I can see some potential for drama here. So, if by the time they finish the governorship one, some of them get into the INEC vehicle and say they are going to Kaba, so some people will follow them and abandon the governorship. We are
sure that on their part, we are sure that on their part they should have made a separate arrangement for that to be announced. Why a separate returning officer will do that, and a separate returning officer will do it.
But who is going to witness it now? That's the point I'm making. That when they say the Kaba result is now going, is now departing. I mean, for instance, you and Phil are there, so there are two of you.
Yes.
So maybe one person can go, but for other media or even parties that have just one agent, you have to decide whether you stay and hear the governorship result or you follow the senatorial to Kaba.
That's what we've been monitoring them from the local INEC office here.
Hey.
Anyway. But, from Lokoja to Kaba is about 2 hours too. So
people will be driving about in the night.
Exactly. But that's notwithstanding, you can monitor it from here. It's just that for the visual and for the visual, you may want to get it while being announced.
Honestly, this electoral reform thing is getting more and more urgent. Because, I mean, this is really messy, awkward, unsafe.
That's what everybody is saying here. Why are they collating the results in Lokoja if they know that the announcement...
If people refuse to go, then they will go themselves and go and announce it in Kaba themselves.
Exactly.
And then people will say what really happened between Lokoja and Kaba. Best case scenario, they may lock it in a box and say they will drive down to Kaba in the morning so that everybody can follow them.
Absolutely.
Now, wow, George Pele.
Thank you, sir.
Hey.
All right. So all right, George. So you let us know once the results for the remaining 3 local governments is being announced, so we can have the live stream up once that starts.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Georges McNoble-Sido, as well as Phil Nweli at the INEC State Collation Center for the Kogi governorship election, updating us. With the announcement of the results set to continue very soon, and we can keep you up to date with that one. So, Rotimi, I'm also hearing too that Bayelsa's results, they've taken a break. So maybe Joshua Rogers will be updating us on what, together with Soibi Omowari, what they've had so far, and whether, or rather, how long we'll have to wait for the remainder 2 local governments to come in, together with a number of interesting comments made with the results that were. Let me take this particular one.
I can't get over this Bayelsa matter. I mean, the other lady said when they were coming on the water,
Yes.
They saw pirates and turned back.
In fact,
The pirates may have hijacked the results.
it's unbelievable. Some of the interesting things I've heard with the announcement of the results. In Brass, it was Brass. I heard the returning officer say that the first thing he said when he got into the hall was, "Thank God we made it here." And there was a look of acknowledgement around the entire hall. And he said, "Only God saved us that we came here today." And he went on to narrate some of the things that happened. And in Brass, you had, if you put total votes together between APC and the PDP, about 33,000 votes. They cancelled 8,000 votes in. Sorry, this was in Sagbama. I'm sorry, 7,000. Put it together. They cancelled 8,000 votes in Sagbama because of violence and then overvoting. So they said they had no choice. Obviously, they did not use the card readers for it to have resulted in overvoting in that area. They just struck out 8,000 votes.
How does overvoting happen? You have the lists.
Yes.
Of people allocated to those areas, and 8,000 more people turned up. 8,000 more people turned up than were registered or required.
Yes.
And they voted.
Yes.
With what? What did they vote with there?
So if they press further the matter, I'm sure they will find out that the electoral officer did not use the card reader. Must have been pressured. So we've also had reports in Bayelsa.
Pressured? Are you being polite?
They were harassed to the point of.
Did they threaten that they will end up in the sea?
So so that may also resulted in the overvoting, and those votes had to be cancelled. Okay, so this is a reaction to this one. This is the chairman of the National Rescue Movement Bayelsa State Chapter, Williams Fatai, who said that the number of votes announced at the INEC collection center was different from what was counted at the Bokuma local government area, which is one of the local government area in Bayelsa where the results have been announced, where he said that they should look into the matter. So I'll get that track very quickly. But Rotimi, this is something that's happened over and over again, especially with...
well, the Situation Room civil society group, which is made up of a few hundred civil society and NGOs. Last I heard from them, they were even saying that it's likely they are going to call for the cancellation of the entire process. That everything they saw there does not look as if there is any integrity that can hold up. So if you have them saying one thing, some agents are saying that there was not agents, officers are saying that there was overvoting. How do they figure out the 8,000 votes to be?
They just struck out the entire thing, both legitimate and illegitimate, which is unfortunate. I mean, people have asked why do people who have waited this long
Is this a scenario for inconclusive and rerun?
Because
I suppose we have to see the difference between the votes.
When the returning officer was pressed on this matter, and that was I think it was the returning officer for Sagbama together with Kolokuma or Bokuma. He said, "What do you expect me to do?" My EO was calling me and telling me that people were on her neck and they were pressuring her, threatening her. And then eventually, when they compare the number of accredited voters with the people who voted and looked at those numbers, I mean, it was incredulously, you couldn't compare. He said, what did you expect him to do? He struck out the entire thing, and he was exasperated even as he was trying to explain his predicament. And but this is the chairman of Accord Party, Victor Onyekusi, who's alleging that 5 local government areas are manipulated. So this track is taken from when the results for Kolukuma Okpokuma was announced. So here, the chairman of the Bayelsa State chapter of Accord Party.
Kolukuma Okpokuma is the hometown of the candidate of Accord. I'm very surprised that we scored just 68. There is no way you are contesting election in your hometown. You have friends, you have relations, you have sympathizers. Sabama will score very high. Which the vote they told me is what I have written down here. The neighbor, the same thing, we score high. And the Kolukuma Okpokuma, where the mark comes from, does it mean that the area being voted are being rejected is our own votes?
Okay, just one of the other parties for to be.
Well, I mean, to him, he's making a good point.
Yeah.
But actually, for the same reason that ruling parties at the national level have routinely lost in the Aso Rock constituency.
Very true.
I mean, both PDP, APC, even when they are incumbents, routinely lose in Aso Rock because even in the place where they are, people are a bit tired of them. And I mean, imagine if they come out and say that how can they lose there? They have friends, they have sympathizers, they've been distributing stuff, So, yes, Mr. Accord, it is possible that your candidate can lose in his village.
In fact, we've been looking at a number of interesting scenarios here where certain bigwigs have lost at their, like they say in the politics parlance, did not deliver their local government areas. For example.
But having said that, you can lose in your village and win in every other village.
Yeah, look at Olusegun Obasanjo when he was president. I mean, he lost his ward in Owu there, and it was regular.
So, I mean, the sociology and the psychology, it's very local. It could just be that you are disturbing them with siren, and they are not. Yes, anytime you come, they don't sleep well because there is too much security. It could just be that. It could be that the person is badly behaved. It could be that the other, maybe you even just took them for granted and didn't come and campaign well, and the other people came and campaigned. I mean, you never know. It could be for a good reason. It could be for a frivolous reason. It could be for a reason that nobody can fathom. But I think what happens in underdeveloped democracies is that people take it. I mean, even right from the time of Abiola and Tofa. From the June 12th time, I remember the SDP people were jubilating that Abiola floored Tofa, even in his own stronghold. I was like, guys, that's just a talking point. What really matters is who wins the overall election, not where you won or lost. Because if you win, it's like in a football match, one side scores 2 wonder goals. And they say, in fact, those goals are goal of the year or goal of the century. And then you concede 7 own goals. The other side never scored once on their own. They will give them the trophy. And nobody is going to say that they can't get the trophy because it was your defenders that we are nodding the thing into your net and that they never got one shot on goal.
Just having a great chat here. In case you just joined the conversation, the results haven't been finally announced yet. We're still awaiting results in 3 local government areas in Kogi State. But the margin between Yahaya Bello, incumbent governor of Kogi State, and Musa Wada, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is huge. Over 180,000 with 3 local governments to go. And people are wondering whether this catch-me-if-you-can race will yield any more surprises. But in Bayelsa State, it's a huge surprise. And in terms of the horizon for politics, the APC or any opposition party for that matter has never had it this good when it comes to the governorship race, where the APC now leads with over 90,000 votes.
And I repeat,
the man who
repeat, candidate party without candidates is leading.
The scenario is it's unbelievable. At some point, it didn't look like that party will have a candidate, and with all of the judiciary gymnastics going on,
they don't have a candidate. It's not that it was looking like
that candidate for that party now.
Unless the candidate was reinstated this morning, as far as I understand, they don't have a candidate.
I mean, so I'm wondering what is going to happen, because it was raised at some point just before the collation started in Bayelsa State, where David Lyon, living through to his name, a lot of controversy going on.
He stood up and roared.
Well, that's the drama playing out in Bayelsa State. But Bayelsa State, Rotimi, has always proven to, of all the South states, looking at the presidential election.
I think the one thing we can say confidently is that whichever party is declared winner in Bayelsa today, that's not the end of that process. Right. I think we can say that very, very confidently.
Yes.
Because the APC aspirants, if APC wins, we just conclude that whoever snatches the party ticket in court or otherwise is the governor. So they will be at it forever, all the way to the Supreme Court. And then the other parties will be waiting for them. And I think it's going to resonate with voters that how can a party that didn't have a candidate do so well, in quotes, if they win eventually. It's an easy argument for the other side to make.
Yeah.
And the courts will be in a dilemma about how they actually interpret. I mean, there's going to be some legal gymnastics, whatever happens. So I think we can confidently say that whatever results we get tonight is just the results as declared tonight.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to feel the pulse of Bayelsa because Joshua Rogers is on standby. Please don't go anywhere.
This is Nigeria Info, Election Coverage Studio. This is Nigeria Info, Election Coverage Studio.
All right, welcome back. It's 4 minutes to 7. I'm Aghogho Oboh with Rotimi Sankore, the great, and Joshua Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally got some time to charge the phone very quickly. I mean, if you're going to test technology this period, our crew in Bayelsa and Kogi State have stretched the limits of technology with their phones and all their gadgets in bringing brilliant coverage of the elections in both states to millions of listeners and viewers through 99.3 Nigeria Info and all our Nigeria Info stations across the country.
Joshua, how about your own personal battery?
Yeah, it's charged a bit. It's okay, we can run with the interview. Later we can still talk.
But hope you and Shoyebi, you are recharged personally.
Yes, we are in charge.
Yes.
So what's happening now?
Okay, so
right now, you can see the table is empty because the INEC officials, security agencies, and other stakeholders who were here some minutes ago on one were there on an hour break to return to collect the results from the other 2 local government areas. 7 local government areas have been collected, like we rightly reported earlier, and we transmitted live. We have collected results, except for Southern Ijaw local government area and Ekoromo local government area. We have results so far from 6 local government areas, Sagbama, we have from Nembe, we have from Kolokuma, Upukuma, we have from Brass, we have from Yenegwa and Ogbia. Remaining 2 other local government areas, 6 have been there collected.
3 more of the 2 local government areas outstanding.
Yes.
So, Rotimi and I have been talking about some of the things that were said on the, following the announcement of results for a number of local governments, notoriously Sagbama, as well as Kolokuma, Opokuma. Violence, overvoting, looks like a common thread to the extent that you had thousands of votes cancelled because of this incident. Yeah, tell us some more.
Yes. Yeah, those were the major areas that they cancelled the vote. There are other pockets of units, some 1, 2 units of 100 and something, 200 something persons, 50 something persons. So if you put all these together, you will know that this is a great number, very large number of people that have been disenfranchised. Just because one of the collation officers defended his position here. He said when his officer came with the result, you will clearly see that those results were mutilated. They were altered to the point that the number of people who voted were far above the number of people that were accredited for that. So he couldn't have accepted that result. And the entire wards were 10, that local government area was cancelled, affecting over 7,000 persons.
there were also
issues of violence, but not as much as it affected in the areas where it had issues of overvoting.
Okay. And any other issues that were raised, either by the officials or by the party agents?
No, usually the major parties here that have been raising issues and countering each other, the PDP and the APC. So you find the other parties either supporting the PDP or supporting the APC. Even some of those political parties, their agents are from certain local government areas, their candidates are from certain local government areas. One accepted that this candidate was given only 1 vote and it couldn't have been possible. But even at that, he accepted the result that it was okay and commended INEC. And some will even recommend INEC officials who conducted the election for further assignments. But right here, I have right here with me the South-South coordinator of the Transition Monitoring Group, TMG, who observed the election. It's Chief Nengi James. So I would like him to also speak on what he saw.
Yeah, it's a pleasure meeting you.
So Chief, you monitored the election on Saturday.
Yeah, I monitored.
And right now you were here, seeing how these results have been collected. Yes.
Next State Collation Center.
Fantastic. So what you saw being collected, is it reflecting exactly what you saw on the field when you monitored this election?
To a large extent, for me, I'm even too worried that the huge turnout. For about 8 years now, people have not voted a government, and some of them were underage. Now they are about 18 plus, and they were eager to vote. Across board, people were very, very eager to vote. The huge turnout was a blessing to Bayelsa State. To a large extent, for me, it's a reflection of what happened on the ground on the voting day. The vote cast and the cancellation of some skirmishes of areas, I think is seriously a reflection. But the good thing is that the political merchants and the conflict entrepreneurs who ought to gain from the prediction that Bayelsa State will be at war have been disappointed. And we are very gladdened because we have disappointed them. So many people, we are even afraid, including you, thinking that wonders may just happen.
If I was afraid, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, but no, you may just say, let you be in the state headquarters. But you agree with me that Bayelsa State is a very peaceful place. Since morning, we have been here from 10 o'clock till now. And that shows that we are committed to humanity and to democracy, and waiting patiently to see that the results collated are properly announced. Let it not be a conclusive election, but a conclusive election. That's why we are here.
I want to ask you that the violence didn't happen as some people predicted. Doesn't mean that it didn't happen at all. Should there be violence anytime there is an election?
No, you see, the violence, the one you are talking about, differ from the no death recorded. I think this is the first time from 1990 today. I have been a youth leader here. I have been a grandstanding activist here. I have been in 32 years working for humanity as a civil society person. For Bayelsa State, there is no election that we've not lost somebody. But this one, by the grace of God, that is the happiness in everybody's
So what do you think contributed to this improvement, contributed to this positivity?
Including you, the serious sensitization, the serious talking, the serious advocacy, the serious peace work, and the peace accord so signed in educating the citizens really contributed, including INEC, because the method from Monday, they started moving non-sensitive material to the racks and to the LGAs. That has never happened. It's 2 days to it has been a fire brigade approach. But this time around, by Wednesday, nothing is here again, apart from the sensitive material. I give them kudos. The INEC on ground is improving, and their lessons learned is from the stakeholders' meetings. And that shows that the media is working hard, civil society is contributing to the development, to the improvement of this exercise.
I want to ask you, I have also observed where agreements have been signed,
and
yet
abused.
Elections, are not peaceful.
I agree.
What makes this one different?
Why? Because of the consciousness. Political education, voters' education, and sensitization. And why this happens is that sometimes people need a positive narrative, a positive progress, and a positive change. This must have brought these happenings to our understanding. Presently now, for me, I'm very gladdened to see that things are going this way. Sometimes, if you don't observe or change exemplarily, you may not know that what you have been doing is wrong. So you change. The governor has spent 8 years. So what he has nothing to lose. So what is the issue? So Bayelsa said this is the time to look at who they want, who is their leader, who is supposed to be their leader that will lead them well. But giving leadership to somebody is another thing. Behavioral and attitudinal issues is another thing.
So Aghogho and Rotimi, I would like to ask, is there any question from that end you wish to ask him?
I was trying to understand what he was saying when was he saying that wonders did not happen or that wonders happened?
So what he meant by wonders?
Wonders.
When you were talking, you talked about wonders didn't happen. So what was that wonder?
The wonder I mean is a reflection of what people were thinking that will happen negatively. It's just like US and others were predicting that Nigeria will divide in 2015. And we have gone across all board that the election is not war. And the war they expect, the bloodshed they expect did not happen. So I think we thank God for that. And I give kudos to the military for obeying, for adhering to their rule of engagement and their code of conduct. In this election, they were very neutral.
But there's always room for improvement. If you are given the opportunity to advise INEC on what to do, as you are given now, what would you advise INEC to do?
First, the advice to INEC is that we do not want these returning officers to be from the academia. We want returning officers and collation officers to be from INEC itself, because this vote buying itself go beyond what you are seeing in the booth. There is cash and kind vote buying. Some of these people who are coming from the academia, for instance, the returning officer is from University of Benin, all the professors that are collating results from University of Benin, there may be a lot of compromise behind the scene. So I think if they are to have some prof, let it be selective, not from one area, and more especially this issue of sensitive material and other material delay in getting to the racks. I think logistically they have to balance this issue and release those documentation in time.
So that is Chief Nengi James. You have a question? Yes.
What he's saying is that he would prefer that the professors are not the returning officers.
Okay, so he asking, what you're saying is it that the professors shouldn't be the returning officers?
Yes, no more getting these ad hoc professorship from institution. If
Professors,
they have to amend the laws, the electoral law, give room to the presidential election. Mahmoud is the returning officer. Why is the REC and other senior personnel in INEC not returning officer? So we need to amend some of these laws to reflect on the people. What is good for the goose is good for the gender.
So these professors are actual professors or working as ad hoc staff for INEC.
Yes,
they are not ad hoc professors.
Okay, even if, for me, it's a desk. For now, I see them as working for INEC.
Yeah.
But that issue, if you talk about vote buying and vote selling, some of this vote buying is cash and kind, which has been in clandestine mode beyond the unit level. So the vote buying you're talking about, people are giving appointments. People are already in advance negotiate for commissioners, essays, contracts. Even some of these professors, I know some of them, after the election, they are giving fantastic appointments recommended by the people. And some of them are in advance, have posted their monies to somewhere, and collection can be
Big
advised.
So that's a very big boy. It's a very big boy. You have to
Coordinator
Do you know
reintroduce himself.
the truth? Do you know negotiation? When it's going on?
TMG coordinator, officially introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Alabo Chief Nengi James Eriwodu as title. South coordinator of
Say you missed his name. Maybe you should just talk to me so you can get it clearly on the mic. Say you missed your name.
My name
is
Chief Nengi. Nengi is spelled Nengi, then Biblical James. Let us end there.
You are
South Coordinator, Transition Monitoring Group, TMG.
All right, so you have that is what he wants. That is what he thinks will improve the electoral system in Nigeria.
The chairman, Civil Liberty Organization on ground in Bayelsa.
Okay, Aghogho and Rotimi.
Okay, Joshua, I have one more question. One big talking point here in the studio has been this question of one party not having a candidate but apparently doing so well. How much is it an issue there in the Collation Center?
Honestly speaking, it's a big issue. Not that it's causing any crisis, but you will see it's very obvious that in this election, at least only 3 persons really contested the election. You had the APC, the PDP, and the Accord. The rest of the political parties, yes, their names are there, but you will see that an agent will tell you, yes, I am from this community, I am from this local government area, and my candidate comes from this community and that community. Even though he had 1 vote in this entire election, who has a wife, who has children that are of age to vote, who has relatives and friends, scoring 1 vote is acceptable and commending INEC for the process. So you will clearly see that there has been a bit of compromise or trying to adopt one party against the other. There is also, I spoke off record with someone who was suggesting that the process should be implemented by the National Assembly. The Electoral Act should be amended to make sure that we can streamline this number of political parties. Because part of the things that is delaying us right here is when the collation officer sits right here on this table and then begins to call a political party one after the other. 45 of them are on the papers. 45, but in actual sense, not up to 5 actually participated in the election.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rotimi. Thank you, Aghogho.
Thank you, Rotimi. Thank you.
Judge, you have Joshua Rogers. INEC INEC Collation Center in Yanagwa, the Bayelsa state capital, together with Soibi Oboh. So we have some distance to go in Bayelsa, just 2 local governments, but in Kogi State, where Georges Bakdobosi do, together with Philip Nweli, are the Kina local government, one of the 3 local government areas. Results just been announced with the PDP winning the local government with 16,575 to the All Progressives Congress figure of 8,948. So 466,134 for the All Progressives Congress altogether so far. People's Democratic Party 151,566 votes with 2 local government areas to go.
So that's a gap of just over 300,000.
I like what you say, just.
Yeah, well.
Oh boy. Yes. So, but really back to something, a different perspective to the argument about the ad hoc professors and ad hoc INEC staff. When it was, I don't know what party the polling. What party agent was who was reacting to the announcement of one of the results for local government areas in Bayelsa, and he just put up a cryptic question, which is of course has spawned a lot of comments online when he said the INEC returning officers from University of Benin, all the professors who have come from the different local governments are all from the University of Benin, and a certain leader of one of the political parties who is from Edo State. Is this some coincidence? And he let the question hang there diabolically, and then went to sit down.
Well, I think INEC would have considered this properly.
Yeah. So
before, because I mean, they have to come from somewhere.
They have to.
And there is no state in which, I mean, there is no university you gather people from where they will not have a party leader of one party, a significant party leader from that state. Yeah, I suppose he was trying to suggest that APC's national chair is from Edo State. You know, but the University of Benin is a national university. It is not. I mean, when people say this kind of thing, you actually have to be calm to question it and say, hold on. It may seem, you know, the way they just say it casually, that, you know, if the national chair of one party is from Edo State, then all the professors are from Uniben, then there is something wrong. I mean, what exactly does that mean? All those professors themselves are not from Edo State.
They're not.
It's a national university. In fact, I would argue that there are arguably more professors in Uniben that are not from Edo State working in Uniben. And even if they are from Edo, what does that mean? That there is some DNA sequence in their blood that Oshomale can just tap into in the middle of the night and reprogram them and say that whatever they vote there, just make sure that it goes my way. You know, people, you know, just throw statements about, you know, as if it can't, the logic of it cannot be questioned.
Very true.
You know?
Leave it hanging there.
Yes, no, I mean, it's completely unnecessary. All this, you know, ethnic or religious or they are from the same religion. How does sharing the same religion make people agree on anything that is political? Oh, they are from the same state. If that was the case, then everybody from any state will just vote for one party, and that will be the end of the matter.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, we won't be seeing even 10 votes for any other party in any state because they are all from the same state. You know, I mean, look at the national election, the last presidential election, where we had the two leading candidates, not Muslims.
Very true.
If the religion was the matter, you know, why didn't they just come together and say, look, guys, seeing that we share the same religion, we just appeal to everybody to vote for two of us. We are hereby merging together, and there is no contest. So people should stop all this, religious and ethnic, especially when it comes from people that should know better. So please, the idea that the professors are from Uniben, it has no consequence. If the professors are incompetent, it is because they are incompetent, not because they come from a certain university, which in itself does not even mean they come from the state where the university is situated. More importantly, it's a federal university.
Very true.
So unless you've never been to university in Nigeria, you may fall for it. Anybody who has been to a federal university will just listen to that thing and just shake his or her head.
Absolutely. All right, so still continuing coverage of the elections in Kogi and Bayelsa State. We're approaching the crescendo now. We have results in both states now. We're just awaiting two local governments each, two in Bayelsa, two also in Kogi State, where results are going. Most likely Kogi will go faster than Bayelsa because Kogi has resumed, and Dekina was the last local government which was announced, so they have two to go. Bayelsa is on the break, waiting for two local government areas to go, and we're speaking with our correspondents in both states to tell us about what is going on there. Before we connect again with me, I'm also looking at some stay with Kogi at how certain politicians are able to maximize themselves, like the governor. Okene was one area which was trending on social media because of the number of votes the incumbent was able to garner for himself, 112,000 votes to the PDP's 139. That definitely was a hammer, and people have tried to compare those figures with what, his supporters, with what President Buhari did get in some of his stronghold in the election. But something they also pointed out too, which I also did go check out, was the fact that the turnout for the presidential election was far lower, by half, than what you had in the governorship. Maybe the people more interested in the governorship polls than the presidential.
Well, everything does not always align. I mean, if you look at the U.S., they just had governorship election in Louisiana.
Yes.
And the Democrats won. And that is a state that Trump carried, if I recall correctly, by 20 points or more. And the Republicans they just lost the governorship thing there. So it doesn't always align, and it doesn't always align for different reasons. It may be that the governorship candidates are viewed differently. It may be that people think the governorship elections are closer to them. It may be that they are not so inspired by the presidential candidates. It may be that one party or the other mobilized more than the other. Maybe they had more foot soldiers, in quote, on the ground. It may even be mago-mago. There are a lot of reasons which you can't tell immediately on the day that the election is going on. It often is with benefit of hindsight that you can figure out why one party won somewhere in one election and a few months later lost there. Because it's not the same candidates, it's not the same people voting, because we have to acknowledge that it's not always the same people that vote, because sometimes there are new voters, so that can change the demographics. I mean, there are so many reasons. Unfortunately, there is something which we still can't do here. We can't track the data properly, like it's done in more developed countries where they have the tools to do so. So we can't tell, for instance, how did women vote? How did men vote?
Right.
How did youth vote? How did educated women with university degree vote? How did women that don't have secondary school education vote? How did farmers vote? How did civil servants vote?
I also
How,
think
we can't track all those things
take,
yet. So
take the opportunity of the polling, like is done in the United and some other countries, to ask questions away from the election matters, which we can be able to derive and mine data for. So take for example,
because in developed countries,
the
for instance,
marijuana question,
in a university town, if you know how the students are feeling, then it's almost more likely that a certain party that the people in university support are likely to win. Because it may be an academic issue. It may be that the member of parliament from there is an old boy or old girl of that university. It may be that the person has a doctorate degree and the other person only has primary school. So there are logical reasons why, here too many things are left to speculation because we don't have the data to be able to understand what exactly happened, even with benefit of hindsight.
The election is such a huge opportunity that we let to go with just to decide who is the governor or who is the senator. There's some other very important questions that can be asked at the polling area where will help for planning. Also
and yes, you hit it on the head. They are planning, and that is why program and manifesto is not a big issue. I mean, ask anybody now, what exactly did any of those candidates campaign on? Yes, I mean, what was their program? I'm in the media. I can't tell. I follow politics closely. I can't tell. I follow public policy. I can't tell. Governance. I can't tell what any of them was promising in their manifesto program that makes them so distinct from the other. Honestly. So if we can't tell, imagine what the voters there are wondering. I mean, what on earth is happening here? So it's left mostly to, the governorship candidate is from our local government. This state belongs to this party. They've zoned the thing to one local government since 1999. They are too greedy. They can't have it there again. I mean, you can see in one state, an incumbent, he was owing salary.
Right.
And it's apparently not an issue.
Not an issue because you see...
In any developed country, you can say bye-bye to that candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we come back on the election coverage studio. We continue countdown to who's winning the elections. We're still getting our feeds from Kogi as well as waiting for Bayelsa to resume and see if we can have them happen before night. Nightfall is already here.
I think you are suffering. I think you are suffering from jet lag. You mean before midnight?
Before midnight. I just want to be the eternal optimist and hope that George's prediction of 10:30 is exactly spot on. It doesn't go beyond that. But let's take this quick break and we'll come back. Election coverage studio. Please stay with us.
Two states, two destinies, 2 jobs, and the huge weight of expectation from over 1 million voters will help define the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. And Nigeria Info will be right there through the campaign, election day, and the announcement of results. Join Nigeria Info's 360 coverage of the polls from 8 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th of November, and Sunday, 17th of November. Our team of reporters will provide live interviews and feeds on radio and social media platforms, all in real time. Nigeria Info, your #1 news, talk, and sports station.
This is Nigeria Info, Election Coverage Studio.
Welcome back. It is 28 minutes past 7 in the city of Lagos, across the entire country, Nigeria. Same time also in Yanagwa, the Bayelsa capital, and Lokoja, the Kogi state capital.
Luckily, we're in a country with one time zone.
Thankfully, yes. So we don't have to do
if it was in America, Russia,
or Canada,
oh gosh,
or China, we've been doing several times. Millions of voters waiting with bated breath for the Electoral Management Body to announce the winners of the governorship election in Kogi and Bayelsa, and also the Kogi West Senatorial District, where elections are also happening. And we're just 2 local governments away. Incidentally, both states have been jinxed together with the date of the election, jinxed in our promo saying 2 jobs and 2 destinies, 2 local governments now to go for both states. And we'll now then know. But let's have you join the conversation. The numbers to call 01277-0993, 01277-1993, 01277-2993, 01277-3993. Those are our numbers. You can call us and let us have a conversation on WhatsApp 0809-597-5805. Again, 0809-597-5805. Rotimi.
Well, it's time to hear from our esteemed listeners. We've been to Bayelsa, we've been to Kogi. At some point, we'll be bringing you some feedback from some of the observers. The observers have, at least 2 observer groups have called for the cancellation of the entire process. So when we line them up, we will hear from them as to why they've said so.
All right. So let's hear you. Also, you can join us on Facebook as well as Twitter. If you realize you've gone on social media, especially Facebook, you've seen our 360 coverage, watching Joshua Rogers as well as Soibi and our crew in Kogi State, Philip Whaley and Georges Mark Nobleson. So I see the lines already blinking. Let's see who goes first.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to Nigeria Info Election Coverage Studio.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
I greet you. This is Babaji. I want to salute your courage. It's not an easy task, since yesterday.
Thank you.
Quickly, let me talk about Kogi and Bayelsa. I'm not surprised, And I think I listened to the former President Jonathan, when he said something that, look...
You are not surprised at what?
I'm not surprised at the results coming out, because I predicted it, that, look, if care is not taken, talks will take over the 2 states. And I'm discussing with someone, I said, where this talk started from? Because honestly, when I was growing up, you don't have talks taking over elections. But today we are having talks. The police will not do anything. The military, probably they may go, they may not go. Depends the commander-in-chief. If you wanted the military to go there, they will go there. if he never wanted the military to go there, they will not go there. So what is going on? I think we should learn from history. And I think God will help us. Let me just drop it through to me. God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much. So, Babaji there. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Are you?
Tired, but we are here because you are there.
Thank you for what you are doing since yesterday. I've just been following up.
Thank you so much.
And I begin to wonder how we are getting backward each day.
Who's calling and from where?
This is Reverend Festus. I'm calling from Malta.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just surprised that we are not learning from history and all the insecurity problems we have in the nation today. It's as a result of all this progress during election. After election, what next? What do we do with these youth that we've armed? I quickly remembered what happened in Borno State in those days. When the governor is lodged for late Malakachala, with all these thugs, fully armed, called Ekomog. And after the election, they took over the whole city of Maiduguri. And there was no job for them to do after that. And all the arms, you can't retrieve it again from them. Today, what do we have? Look at the situation today. Everywhere, by fire, by force, they must take over power. It's not for service. If it is for service, it will not be by killing. Blood will not be touching blood. Unfortunately, we keep on praying that God will save our nation. Thank you very much for the good work you are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. I think there is some information coming from
Georges, yes.
So maybe we should hear what he has to say. If you are listening, please hold on. We may have some breaking news from Kogi State. Hello, Georges.
Hello, Rotimi.
Yes. So what's the update?
The update, it was a surprise, a very surprise gift that they gave to us this evening. After the Kina result was announced, and it's many that of Ibaji and Lokoja, and we thought that the two the collected officers from the two local governments are not yet around. They are not here yet. So the returning officer, the state returning officer, announced that we are going to take a break for 2 hours, but to wait for them. But the state agent of PDP, Captain Joe Agada, actually stood up and suggested that in order to give the people enough time to do a nice job, that we should just adjourn to tomorrow morning 9 a.m. And they posted the question. The state returning posted the question to the other agents, and they all accepted that we adjourn to 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh my!
No wonder I call it a gift. I mean, it's a fate worse than death. If they made them wait till midnight, it's worse. So it was just coming. Oh boy.
Oh gosh. And here we were earlier saying that if they take it, what judges you are speculating that maybe half an hour each for each local government.
So, because even the Dekina that we took, that's the speed that we've been moving. Because none of them spent up to 30 minutes. It has always been like that. Only two of the collecting officers came and didn't get their calculations right, and they asked them to go and adjust it, then to come back. After that, the others just did it at a go, and the state agents, the PDP, the party agents accepted what they came to read, and that was all.
So the people from the two local governments, is there any clear reason why they've not arrived or why they are not there?
No, the state returning officer didn't give any reason. They themselves said they didn't know anything about them. Not until they see them at the collation center, that is when they will ask them questions. But for now, they don't know anything about them, and they cannot call them.
They are not able to call them to check where they are, how long it will take to arrive.
I think they can't. Why they can't call them is because they not to look as if they are calling them to influence them. For instance, if anything happens to the result and they have to cancel that result, if investigation, if it has to do with investigation and they have to see that the state returning officer has been calling that person that is supposed to come and read that thing. So I think that is why they said they cannot call them. It is not in within their
this
power to
local governments, Ibaji and Lokoja, right?
Yes.
I'm surprised Lokoja is involved in this waiting game.
Actually, they said that it's a place inside Lokoja local government that is far. That is about it was 4 hours. And that the roads are bad. So that perhaps that is the local government, that is where they are expecting their results from.
So judges, by extrapolation, this also puts on hold to the results from the Kogi West Senatorial district, because Lokoja is also included.
Exactly. I think that is why the Lokoja, they are also waiting for the result of Lokoja on the Kogi West Senatorial result.
It'll be interesting to know if these bad roads are federal road or state roads. So, folks, if you are listening, you just had it first, I must say, on Nigeria Info 99.3 from our politics editor and special correspondent at the Kogi elections, the state returning officer has announced in consultation with the agents that the results from Kogi, you will not have them tonight, and that everything is now postponed till tomorrow morning 9 a.m. Incredible stuff. Judges, thank you so much for that timely update.
Thank you, sir.
In fact, we are not expecting it at all.
We are also not expecting it because we were hoping that we'll go for 2 hours break and we'll come back.
But then, judges, I know you're in some enclosed space, but is there any way you can feel the pulse and mood of the town as they wait for the final announcement of the results? What have you heard? What have you seen?
We have been in since morning, and unless if we have to do that now while we're going out, and then we can now report back again.
Well, it's dark, so the most important thing is to stay safe.
Yes.
All right. So that means that tomorrow morning from Kogi, we are expecting this process to resume at 9.
At 9.
So from what has happened today, unless there's another postponement until Tuesday, this may be over by noon or 1 p.m.
Yes, latest by 12 noon or 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay, so we look forward to the live feed of when the final results are announced.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic work by judges McNobleson Idowu and Phil Wenley in Kogi State. Really shocking and stunning news coming from them. Kogi process postponed until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Right, and then you have the results finally from Ibaji as well as Lokoja, which we just also understand will affect the results for the Kogi West Senatorial District. So we have a date, 9 a.m. tomorrow, which means we'll be we're having 3 days of election coverage, the way it looks.
It's Wanima and Sheriff. So we've handed the baton back to them.
So I'm looking at the the dashboard and hoping that I don't see something from Bayelsa too, that they mirror what is going
suddenly
on.
calling to update us to say that, in fact, somebody is stuck in the water somewhere.
We got 2 big local governments to go. In fact, one big one, Southern Ijo local government area, as well as the Keremo. Those 2 local government areas are what we're waiting for in Bayelsa State. They took a break for 1 hour, so when they come back, we'll also get...
You know what? All these places, since the early 70s, I've been hearing about them in different types of high life songs.
so Southern Ijo is a tough place.
from Nembe to
Brass
to in fact, I remember the
Sagbama.
I remember the first time I understood the concept of waterside.
It's actually Oceanside.
The concept of waterside, I was in Enugu then, and big high life show going on at what was it? Was it called the Independence Hotel? I think.
In River State.
No, in Enugu.
Sorry, Enugu.
In Enugu, and all these big high life musicians gathered. Rex. No, I'm trying to remember all their names now, but they all gathered, and the ones from the South started to sing.
Rex Jim Lawson.
Yes, I'm trying to remember everybody now.
Henshaw,
Henshaw, and they started singing. I can't remember the exact musicians now. It's been a very, very long time. But they started singing, and there was this consistent. It was just after the Civil War. I was very young, but they kept singing about waterside. So I asked one of the grown-ups, this waterside place they are talking about, what exactly is happening? And then they explained the thing to me. And I said, oh my goodness, there must be a lot of them from there. Yes, and it turned out that really there were a lot of them from there, singing about fish,
And Pitakwa. Just Port Harcourt.
So, who knew then that we'll be talking about Nembe in 2019? All right, so we were speaking with our wonderful audience before the blockbuster information from Georges just threw everything out of the water.
All right, so I think we can go back to the phone lines.
Yes.
So at least we have one that we know won't happen
it's not
this
going
night,
to happen
which
tonight.
is Kogi State. Bayelsa, we're still waiting. So numbers again: 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and then 01277.
No, sorry, it was Presidential Hotel.
Presidential.
Yes, not Independence. Presidential Hotel.
Nike Presidential.
In Enugu, yes.
Okay. All right. So those are the numbers. Please call in.
This is Nigeria Info, Election Coverage Studio.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining our special election coverage studio. Who's calling?
It's Florence from Igondo.
Florence from Igondo.
Good evening, Florence.
I just want to thank you, Aghogho. I just want to say well done. You people are doing a very good job.
Thank you.
Well done. God
Thank
bless you.
Are you from Bayelsa or Kogi by any chance?
No, I'm from Ogoja or Cross River.
Okay. Are you from Waterside?
No. Ogoja town itself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Very grateful. Yeah. So we appreciate Florence too. Hello.
Good evening, Sankore.
Good evening. Was that a significant cough before you started?
Yeah?
I said you coughed properly to clear your throat.
Yes, thank you very much for accepting me.
Okay.
I am Ezedum from Surulere. I want to say here that in fact it is so crazy that a state like Kogi cannot conclude the elections in 2 days. This is what we have been saying, that we must demand electoral reform from President Buhari. We cannot keep quiet and as if things are nice. You see, yesterday I listened to you attentively when you were making a vital point that electoral reform, even if INEC and Mahmoud Yakubu is so lazy to accept technology in our elections, I think that if we have a good electoral reform, after voting, when you finish counting the ballots at the polling unit, there must be INEC software where the result should be supposed to be posted to INEC Collation Center via electronically. This will reduce time of transmitting results manually from the collection center, from the polling unit to the collection center. It is obvious that Buhari that those people that manage him want to take advantage of thick electoral reform to replace him after in 2023. You see, Sankore, I am so bitter that things are going wrong. Our democracy are very, very sick. You know, when your elections are sick, your democracy is sick. We must demand electoral reform from the president. 2023 is very, very close. It's very appalling that a small state like Lokoja, that they cannot conclude the election in 2 days. Very, very
I'm sure you mean a small state like Kogi.
On daily basis.
As a doom, you just created the 37th state in Nigeria.
It's unfortunate. Thank you very much. As a doom.
All right, thank you very much.
As a doom just created Lokoja state.
You know, when you stop over, you're going to Abuja, you stop over at Lokoja. In his mind, it's Lokoja state.
Well, to be sure, look, as a doom, I'm sure I did not mention the INEC chair's name in anything I said. I rarely ever mention the name of INEC officials. The point I was making was that the electoral reform is really crucial, and that INEC really has to look at this closely. Of course, it's not necessarily in INEC's power. It's in the National Assembly and the President. But it is really affecting INEC's work. INEC can only work according to the law that exists. So really a lot of the criticism of INEC, while it may be valid, also doesn't take account that INEC does not make the law. So it's important for us to note that it doesn't matter whether you think INEC is efficient or not. INEC doesn't make the law. We always have to be fair, in our commentary and analysis. Hello. The technology is about to let us down. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm hearing you. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening. Sorry, we were not sure what was happening with the technology. Thank you for holding.
Okay, sir.
Who's calling and from where?
I'm calling from Surulere. My name is Mr. Felix.
Okay, Mr. Felix. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I've been listening to you right from since afternoon up to now.
Thank you.
Honestly, I must tell you that what is happening in this country, I am disappointed, seriously. I am very, very highly disappointed. In a state, just 2 states only, not the whole federation, to hold the election in only just 2 states, and things cannot be gotten right the way it's supposed to. Just 2 states. Now, look at what is happening in Bayelsa. I'm not interested. I'm not a party member. I am not interested in any particular party. But what I'm after is that the right thing should be done. Now, look at Bayelsa. Bayelsa that does not have a candidate by the court, which court says so party has no candidate, and now they are now winning. You don't forget that it was also in this country that somebody was in the court, in the prison and win a case in Niger State. If you remember. Yes.
Also
and
in
now,
Osun State, I remember. I'll be sure.
Look at what is happening now in. Look at what is happening now also in Kogi State. You can imagine and see the kind of government we have, or the kind of country that we are running in this part of the world. Honestly, I am disappointed looking at all these things. I've been monitoring all these things right from yesterday up to today. You know, it has taken me time to monitor just to know exactly what is happening and to see how things can be done properly. But I discovered that we are very, very far from doing things the normal way it's supposed to. We are very, very far. And in fact, I doubt if we can ever get it right.
We will. The thing is just to figure out what is... If we look at all the problems, we need to figure out which one of those problems lies with INEC and which one of those problems lies with the bigger systemic issues like infrastructure. If you look at someone like Bayelsa, INEC has no control over flooded roads, over canoes that break down in the middle of the sea, over the distance that those canoes have to travel. On the other hand, you can say that if there is electronic transfer of the information, then all those things won't matter. But again, that is not INEC. INEC can only recommend. The National Assembly has to pass it, and the president has to sign. So again, we need to figure out, what does INEC need to get right as INEC? What does the states, that is the National Assembly and the executive, what do they need to get right? And then we as citizens, what do we need to call for?
Okay, but to my own opinion, because all these things that you have just said now, I don't even think that the people in charge are really interested in doing this. They cannot do it. Why? Because they know that as soon as they deviate from what is happening presently, they will no longer be able to do that. And the masses you are talking of, to me, I believe that there is little or nothing the masses can do. In the sense that if there was to be any reaction...
We'll have to leave it at that. Thank you very much for your comment. Let's take this quick break. Election coverage studio. We need to pay some bills. We'll be right back after this. Please keep listening.
This is Nigeria Info, Election Coverage Studio.
Aghogho reporting live from the Lagos State House. Alongside Keja Clementine Okonye reporting from the
for the development of Lagos State. Rotimi reporting. It has been 5 days of banter, training, and confirmation at the Senate. Judges reporting.
Listen to the major news every day, 6 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. Live on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Hi there! Like the popular belief, the side of the bed you wake up on can affect your mood all through the day. But not just that. The kind of information you're exposed to can not only affect your mood, but also your opinion throughout the day. Start your day the right way. Listen to the Morning Crossfire with Wemimo and Sheriff. Get the headlines, hot news, latest developments, both locally and internationally. Right here on the Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Hard facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
Jakumaku, Lagos. I am Aghogho.
Join the powerful duo of Sandra Ezekwesili and Oboh as they take you through drive time, politics, education, health, and plenty more. If it's worth talking about, then listen to Hard Facts.
Join us weekdays
3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
on Hard Facts.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let me tell you about Public Square. There are several lines that meet other edges.
The youth of this country who are already in a disillusioned, disenchanted state will be encouraged.
Where we talk about the fine margins. Sometimes it's black, white, and blurry.
It's also informed by the need to save costs and reduce legislative time.
And then there are the actors, right at the center, coming through political processes, which could be dramatic.
To be a state of dismal if Parliament does not rise this morning.
And controversial.
If driving to the roads is engaging the Macabadan, compatibility is that of government.
And there's you to help connect the dots from the top to the bottom. Join Rotimi, Sankore, and Aghogho Oboh at the Public Square every Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. 99.3 Nigeria Info. 2 states, 2 destinies, 2 jobs, and the huge weight of expectation from over 1 million voters will help define the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. And Nigeria Info will be right there through the campaign, election day, and the announcement of results. Join Nigeria Info's 360 coverage of the polls from 8 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th of November, and Sunday, 17th of November. Our team of reporters will provide live interviews and feeds on radio and social media platforms, all in real time. Nigeria Info, your #1 news, talk, and sports station.
This is Nigeria Info, election coverage studio.
It's 8 p.m. I'm Aghogho Oboh with Rotimi Sankore, the election coverage studio. We're back up at Kogi and Bayelsa State. And this is the continuation of the conversations. Just to update you, Kogi State Collation has been suspended until tomorrow, 9 a.m. 2 local government areas where we would have the results finally in, they said, by 9. Our correspondent Georges Bakdobesin telling us this evening that this is what they have finally agreed together.
Really shocking news from Kogi that they've postponed till 9 a.m. in the morning with some local government still to go. So, we have Achike now.
Right.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
All right.
Good evening, Achike Chude.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, you are live from Kogi.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay. So, Aghogho and I are here. So, what's the thinking of yourself and the Situation Room about this postponement in Kogi till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning?
Well, I think if one has been going through the past exercises like that, one would have thought that they would. I mean, because this is a very sensitive, process. In fact, perhaps one of the most sensitive of all the processes. I mean, virtually all the processes are important, but of course, the issue or the process of counting the votes and then announcing the results are exceedingly very, very important. So you would expect that any attempt to leave a gap, in that process is something that people are going to look at with a lot of suspicion. and that everything will be done to avoid that. Of course, we all know that the process the entire election has been riddled with some level of controversies, with the violence, being perpetrated by politicians who are the primary stakeholders in this election. And so you want to believe that everything will be done to ensure that there will be no break in transmission, if I'll use that expression. But obviously, this is not the case. But I think what makes it perhaps the fact that the stakeholders were consulted over this, and that would, of course, include the people from both sides, especially the two, the primary, opposition parties, the PDP, APC, and that there was another consensus and agreement, is something that perhaps would not make it as as there is something that might not induce so much crisis. But then it is surprising that both parties accepted to go on a break. I would have expected. We find instances where these people, stayed there for long. And
it's
then,
disappointing and surprising.
Yes, it is. It is surprising. I can tell you, I'm surprised that both sides of the divide actually agreed to this, because so many things can happen, and that's the implication of what is going on. So many things can happen.
Achike, from your experience observing elections, when this kind of postponement is done, what happens to all the material? I mean, do they lock it in a room somewhere and hope that ninjas cannot enter that room? Or everybody stays in the room and they handcuff the boxes to people's leg and hand to make sure it can't run away? I mean, what happens?
Yeah, well, the issue, I think what is priority is to try to secure those materials at the same time. Again, it's not about tying the boxes to people's legs and all that, but, like I said, something that brings suspicion. And so you want to believe that the party agents, everybody is going to be on standby. Everybody is going to, hang around the place where these, materials are supposed to be. So first of all, ensure that no new materials are brought into the place and they're added to what is on taken out of it. So you want to believe.
Sorry, when you say on standby, typically what happens? They are all outside the door with their mattresses.
Yeah, well, they are around. I mean, they're not going to. Nobody is going to leave that place. I can assure nobody. In fact, everybody is going to stay there till morning. But then again, and ensure, like I've said, where those. Of course, not everybody is going to be in the same place where the materials are. The materials are somewhere. Hopefully secured. And of course, don't forget that you still have a lot of security people. But part of the security involves the agents of both sides of the divide, who also have a direct stake in preserving the sanctity and integrity of the ballot, box and the votes that have been cast.
You are saying both sides. Have we given up on all the other parties?
No, I mean, look, there's a reality. You have seen virtually all the results that have come out. Even when people went into this election, there is a general truth. The good thing is that smaller parties are competing, and that is great. It doesn't matter whether they are scoring 1 vote or 2 votes. Perhaps in the next 10 years, 20 years, some of them will become the dominant parties, in the country. But it takes a process of rebuilding and renewal and all of that. But there is a reality that everybody recognizes that in this country there are 2 dominant political parties. Just as you have in the United States, the Democrats and the Republicans, just as you have in Britain till some years back, when, the traditional Labour Party and the Conservatives, now you have the Green Party, now you have other parties and the rest. So we grow, but there's an acknowledgement that the dominant parties, dominant again, because all of them, some of these parties have been in power, have been in government one time or the other, and have leveraged themselves on being the parties in power to also build themselves with the resources of Nigerian state. We all know all of these things. So, one is not denigrating the efforts of other political parties to also be players in the politics of this country, but there's a reality, a social reality, political reality that we have to acknowledge.
One very important question. There have been calls from at least 2 observer groups for the entire process to be cancelled. What's their thinking there? You are involved with one of these groups.
Yes, of course. Africa, the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, we had a press conference today, this evening. Yaga also did the same thing, and these are credible, civil society organizations.
Just to be clear, when you say call for cancellation, what does that mean?
Look, the reality is, there is this thinking that we can continue in sin, and then grace may abound, if I'll use that expression. There is this thinking that we'll continue to do the same thing and a different kind of result will emerge. Now, you see, my biggest fear, Rotimi, is the fact that we are building a culture. It has almost become a culture. Do you understand? We are building a culture of elections have to be violent. Elections must include elements of violence, talks, and ballot snatching, gunshots with a few people being killed in the process and so on. And that is the only way elections can be conducted. And some of us are becoming, getting used to it. There was that mindset that there's going to be a breakout of violence, and that some of the unsavory elements of this election that we have experienced, issues of snatching of ballot boxes, shooting in the air, scaring, intimidating voters, and so on. There was this mindset that we're going to see because, after all, it is typical of any Nigerian election.
Yeah, but Achike, just to get to the point, when groups like Civil Society Situation Room and Yaga say they are calling for the elections to be cancelled, what does that mean? Cancel everything and hold the elections again? That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that the call?
Yeah. For me, that is one of the Civil Society Situation Room. I don't think it's just about maybe particular places. Because, look, we have to look at these things from a holistic perspective. If we say, okay, let us cancel the results only in those places where you have violence, where ballot boxes were snatched. What it means is that you have endorsed acts of violence, even that covers the entire place. Because the implication is that you have that election in those places. The very next time you're going to have election, you will have election in those places where you did not have violence. Now the violence shifts to other side. You understand? It is that culture, that impunity, that this must be part and parcel of our election. That is what is frightening. I believe
and if everything is cancelled completely, understand, I'm playing devil's advocate here, because we have to ask all these questions, not just for ourselves, but also on behalf of listeners. If all the elections are cancelled, what do we expect that will happen differently next time?
Look, Rotimi, I must be frank with you that we find ourselves in a cul-de-sac in this country. There are no guarantees. You see, this is the issue. Do not forget. Look,
are there any specific points in that call to ensure that what happened now does not happen again?
No,
that you also call for implementation of A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah, Rotimi, there are always calls. Even after the last presidential election, why some people wanted to pretend about it. And you said the worst thing we do to ourselves is to live, to be, deceitful when it comes to things that are very clear to everybody. There were certain inconsistencies in that election. There were certain, drawbacks in that in the last election of 2019. And some of the gains that were made in 2015, not because we are saying 2015 was perfect. Of course, it was not a perfect election. But there were things that were gained after that election of 2015 that were lost in 2019. So we have to call, for, reformation of, reform of the electoral process. And it is because we have not had, done the fundamental things when it comes to electoral politics in this country that what you have in Kogi State, and what happened in Kogi State and Bayelsa State happened again. Do not forget that when Aghogho became president, on the basis of the election that brought him to power, he acknowledged, yes, that he became president of this country, but also acknowledged that the electoral process that brought him to power, you understand, left much to be desired. And he instituted the electoral reform committee under Wise, Justice Wise. You understand? Not everything that was recommended by the Wise panel was implemented. The issue of appointment of the chairman of INEC, the issue of independence of independence of INEC, the issue of a first-line charge of for INEC in terms of funds, so that they can be independent of the government of the day. These are some of the issues and other issues surrounding it. So all of these things have not been done for as long as you do not also forget. After the election of 2015, Jega said a very fundamental statement. He said that the political class continues to be the bane of electoral politics in this country. The present INEC chairman also said the same thing. That we need to discuss, to have a national conversation around elections in this country. You understand? So for as long as we have not, and we have not done all of these things, every election will continue to produce what we have in what we had in Kogi State and Bayelsa State. But the question now, just like you have asked, is it the whole process? And my thinking is that we cannot continue, to reward these politicians for the, for the very negative response that they show with regards to election in this country. So perhaps I think that is once that election is cancelled, then everybody goes back home to the drawing board. But I cannot tell you that we will avoid in the very next election, we will avoid some of the things that we had in the first election. And that is where the problem is. That is the cul-de-sac that I'm talking about. Do not forget that there was Osho 1. After Osho 1, which was relatively better than Osho 2, they worked that process towards, an inconclusive election, and the next day we had Osho 2, and we saw the very worst in electoral.
All right, Achike. Something also being pointed at by a number of observers, looking at things like the violence. This has been reoccurring in a number of comments made by the electoral officers, so even the observers I've seen in the last couple of days. Also to the inducement of voters or electoral officials. I've also seen that one too. But interestingly, I'm sure you did watch with amazement the electoral official who had a bundle of notes, 50,000 naira and all, saying that he was induced by, he didn't mention the name of the party, but it's something that has been spoken about in the dark, but to see it in the open in such glaring light, what do you think? You think we're finally coming to a head in getting to the bottom of this, or we haven't even started yet?
I think what that tells you is that in every 12, you always have one that is different. While the vast majority, perhaps, of people will take that money because of their economic situation or whatever, however they want to justify it. You still have a few Nigerians that are driven by acts of patriotism, that want to do the right things. Obviously, this person collected this money. Now he might as well have rejected that money. But the implication of rejecting that money is that he endangers his life. So he was wise by collecting that money, and he was even wiser by making sure that a particular situation came to the public space. But the vast majority of people who are giving monies collect this money, not questioning the basis for collecting this money in the first place, because ultimately they are going to pay the price. So these are some of the things that we have to contend with. Look, in one of the unit 04, 004, I think in Felele, in Kogi. We were there in the morning when we went to do surveillance of the general electoral environment. There was somebody that was asking I think the PO2 her name, and I was a little bit worried when she gave him innocently her name, and then he asked for the surname. She gave him. Eventually, I met the guy, confronted, and I said, "Why are you? Who are you? Are you an observer?" I said, "Yes." He was wearing the jacket, but he wasn't wearing a tag. So I became a little bit suspicious. I asked him, which organization he was representing. He mentioned CAN. Of course, I suspected that immediately. He was obviously a local person. But I now went to the PO, to the electoral office, and I said, "Look, you don't give your names out to anybody." and you don't give your number to, out to anybody because you're endangering yourself in the process. So there are all kinds of things that go on, in this particular process. So the bribery continues unabated. Now, what happens ultimately? But let me just say this: it has been in our tradition for a very large extent to hold INEC perhaps 70% responsible for the failure of elections.
Right.
But I think that INEC, as an organization, for instance, if you look at the way INEC has conducted itself in this particular election, I would give INEC perhaps as much as 70-80%.
So you think people are
from somebody like me who is, always very skeptical.
Right. So
about,
Achike, you think people are being too critical of INEC, saying, for example, they bring in the EFCC and the ICPC into the polls, and at the end of the day, they just be like sitting ducks in watching this entire thing play out. Are people being too critical of INEC? Could they have done anything?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For a very long time we have been. I personally have been. But I have sat down really to try to understand the problems of INEC. Now, INEC, in terms of this particular election in Kogi State where we were, in terms of deployment of materials, they did very, very well. And in terms of the performance of Nigerians and the response of Nigerians to this election, I was proud of Nigerians. As early as 6:37 o'clock, Nigerians have started to gather. And you go to most of the places, many of the security people were already on ground. You understand? Some came a little bit late. We had a few, late deployments of materials because perhaps the INEC people were waiting for, security escort to be able to go to their places of deployment. But generally, the response from the security was fine. The response from, INEC and the INEC staff was fine. The response by Nigerians was fine. How come that in spite of all of these things, we had the problems we had eventually? Because people were not deceived. They knew that, look, the initial, processes would always go well in most cases if everybody responded on time. But it was once the voting has started, especially around that period that the votes, that they will start collecting the votes at the polling booths. And that was where we are going to have issues because the politicians are always also sitting back together with the talks, and they know when they are going to strike. And so it was at that particular point in time, that period, that we now began to have all this series of crises in most of these, polling units. But at the same time, again, if you cannot hold INEC responsible for the breakdown in, in the security, because they are not a security agency, who you hold responsible? The police? Look, if you look at it deeply, you realize that the police are also, and the security forces are also, victims of the misgovernance and the contradictions of, our political experience in this country. They are also victims. Now you have the inner cordon where you have, unarmed policemen, unarmed security people, within, near the polling units. Then outside is where you have deployment of, personnel.
Right.
The distance between those ones that are on the road and the polling units is much. So by the time the talks come in, they're already emboldened by the fact that the security people that they are going to meet on ground are not armed.
So what you're saying, Achike, here is that what we saw happen in the general election, which was very common with the places where we had the polling units results cancelled because of the violence that happened, and we saw a number of policemen not being able to do anything when the thugs invaded those polling units, happened in some places here. But I'm just trying to compare those because we've also been speaking with our correspondents and some observers in Bayelsa State, and they give us the impression to take, for example, in Sagbama in Bayelsa State, where electoral officers simply had to cancel the entire polling unit, not even bothering to sort out whether there was some sense whether any of the votes were legitimate or not. What's your take? Is it given to chance that if it happens, that there's really nothing we can do if the talks invade the places?
You see, Aghogho, we also understand our country. We also understand, the power structure in this country. We understand the influence that the political class, especially the ruling political class, have within the polity. For instance, at one of the polling booths, I think there may be a Muslim community school, somewhere in Lokoja. The DG, media publicity of the governor came in a convoy of 8 vehicles. One of them a coaster bus, and then the rest of the vehicles were were pickups. He came with gun-toting policemen to intimidate voters. You understand? And was shouting on the voters, and one of a member of the civil society situation room who had his camera, happened to have had his camera and was trying to take some pictures of what was going on. The man himself, the DG to the governor, asked him to bring his camera and send some of the policemen to take the camera from him. He has eventually collected this camera today, I think sometime today. But this was, and that is abuse of government power. You understand? This is state intimidation in an electoral process. But the funny thing was that the police obviously knew that what that man was doing was very wrong. But the police people accompanied him to do some, the things that he did. So these are some of the things that we're talking about. And that's why, in a way, I say that the police themselves are victims. Because they wait for signals to be given by the ruling political class. Either in the state or at the federal level. Then it is on the basis of the signal that is given by those in authority, it's on that basis that they respond, to issues, either positively or negatively. So the government of the day in Kogi State has a political interest, just as you have the opposition. The federal government at the same time, it also has an interest in the sense that they would want their candidate in a particular state to win an election. So what happens? That makes the police, the security forces, vulnerable to the dictates of the ruling political class at any particular point in time. And this does not have anything to do with an APC, does not have anything to do with election in an APC control state. The same thing would happen in a PDP control state. So you now have the security forces being vulnerable to the dictates of members of the political class. These are also issues that we need to discuss.
All right. It's an ongoing conversation. Thank you very much, Achike Chude, who is in Kogi State, in Lokoja State.
Thanks very much, Achike.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. So we'll take a quick break, election coverage studio, and we'll come back and then we can talk some more, update you on what is going on in Bayelsa State, where we're still waiting for the two local government, Southern Ijo and Keremo local government area. Those are the local government areas where results are still being expected. Maybe Bayelsa may happen this night, or may go the way of Kogi, where the collation of the results have been postponed until 9 a.m. tomorrow, where you will have those results finally. Same for the Kogi West Senatorial District, where the results also too haven't finally been announced, even though we're seeing online that Dino Bilaye of the People's Democratic Party has been protesting and condemning the entire process, saying that he is not party to whatever is going on. But still early days. Let's take this quick break. We'll be right back.
This is Nigeria Info, Election Coverage Studio.
2 states, 2 destinies, 2 jobs, and the huge weight of expectation from over 1 million voters will help define the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. And Nigeria Info will be right there through the campaign, election day, and the announcement of results. Join Nigeria Info's 360 coverage of the polls from 8 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th of November, and Sunday, 17th of November. Our team of reporters will provide live interviews and feeds on radio and social media platforms, all in real time. Nigeria Info, your #1 news, talk, and sports station.
Alongside Keja, Clementine Okonye, reporting from the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Joy Kalio, reporting live from the Murtala Mohammed International Airport.
For news that's close to home, hear it first on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Up to the minute news that matters to you. Our reporters are always on the go, bringing it as it happens.
The lawmakers have decided to work with the executive for the development of Lagos State. Rotimi reporting. It has been 5 days of banter, screening, and confirmation at the Senate. Judges reporting.
Listen to the major news every day, 6 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. Live on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
The Nigerian Stock Exchange has declared...
The Minister of Trade and Commerce...
And on the economic front, reportedly, all...
So the thoughts around creating a money business and economy show on 99.3 Nigeria Info was in trying to help you understand how business and economy headlines affect your income. But it turns out you want more. Powered by the 99.3 Nigeria Info Newsroom, we will be covering AGMs, news briefings. Basically, we will be the fly on the wall at every business discussion that matters. Because most of the time, the news headlines do not cover everything that's going on.
Join Tunji Andrews on the Money, Business and Economy Show. Every weekday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 99.3 Nigeria Info. From your #1 talk news and sports station. This is the Morning Crossfire.
Hello, my name is Ronke from Ikorodu.
Hi, I'm Emeka from Festa. My name is Ahmed from Apapa.
I want to tell you about my radio. My radio is my best friend.
My steady companion.
My radio keeps me informed
all day long with hot topics, trending news,
politics, and current affairs.
My radio gives me the best music.
My radio is Nigeria Info.
Everybody in Nigeria listens to Nigeria Info.
This is
2 states, 2 destinies, 2 jobs, and the huge weight of expectation from over 1 million voters will help define the governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. And Nigeria Info will be right there through the campaign, election day, and the announcement of results. Join Nigeria Info's 360 coverage of the polls from 8 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th of November, and Sunday, 17th of November. Our team of reporters will provide live interviews and feeds on radio and social media platforms, all in real time. Nigeria Info, your #1 news, talk, and sports station.
This is Nigeria Info, election coverage studio.
All right, welcome back. And to the election coverage studio, 99.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Aghogho Oboh with Rotimi Sankore. The executive director of Yaga, Samson Itodo, is joining the conversation. Yesterday, he was with us, and tonight also too, he's giving us the opportunity to once more speak with him on the election coverage studio. Mr. Itodo, famous with Not Too Young to Run bill, which eventually became a law, and his organization has put out a statement earlier today which has set offline, online reactions in fire on what to do with the Kogi and Bayelsa elections. Incidentally, the Bayelsa election collation is continuing with 2 local governments remaining. Those appear one of those local governments returning officers has come into the hall in Yenagua. But Mr. Itodo, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Samson, welcome to the Nigeria Info special election coverage studio.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Yaga put out a statement earlier.
Yeah.
Can you kindly help us clarify what the statement says and why?
This afternoon, we issued a statement articulating our position on the Kogi governorship election. And our position first is informed by our observations from the pre-election phase. For 8 weeks, we observed the pre-election phase. We observed preparations of stakeholders as well as the conduct of INEC and the conduct of security agencies. We also looked at political campaigns and monitored party primaries. Now, based on our assessment of the pre-election environment, we raised 5 key issues. One was around the proliferation of small and light arms and the recruitment of thugs for these elections. We also raised critical issue on voter inducement and the fact that the campaigns were trailed with violence. We raised issues around limiting electoral competition, and institutions of state were used to prevent candidates from actually conducting their campaigns. Now, all of this created an environment that made it really difficult to organize free, fair, and peaceful elections. We sent this warning, and we did say that politicians were preparing for war, whilst voters and INEC and other stakeholders were preparing for elections. That manifested in yesterday's election. The level of brigandage and how politicians used state machinery against ordinary citizens and people who wanted to cast their vote was totally unacceptable and highly condemnable. And it's our considered opinion that based on the levels of violence, disruption, brigandage that we observed yesterday, it put us in a very difficult position to verify the outcome of these elections. And so we question the integrity, because the integrity of elections is not just the function of INEC, it's also the conduct of how other security agencies, political parties, and candidates behave, that it impacts on the credibility of our elections. And that's why we called for the cancellation, that the 2019 governorship elections that are held yesterday in Kogi State does not meet the minimum standards for peaceful, credible elections. Therefore, we question the integrity thereof.
So just to be sure, Yaga is calling for the cancellation of the entire Kogi governorship election, everything.
Absolutely. If you recall yesterday, we issued a statement, we issued a midday statement. It was a situational statement. And when we observed the levels of disruption in some locations, we called for cancellation of elections in those polling units where disruptions took place. That was the first call we made yesterday. But as at last night, when all our data came in from our observers, and we compared notes with other civil society observers, it became clear that the violence, brigandage, as well as the disruption that took place and stuffing and snatching of ballot boxes were quite widespread in the 2 senatorial districts of Kogi State, Kogi West and Kogi East. And that was why we made that call. But I'd like to emphasize that we stand by that call. If INEC is interested in electoral integrity, then it should cancel this election. And then we come back to the table and have conversations about whether or not we are ready for elections or for democracy. And like I mentioned yesterday, that we are not. And when I mean we, the political class, does not appear committed to the principles and the ethos of democracy. And that is very, very problematic for our own development process, because what happened in Kogi And what happened in Bayelsa, it's unfortunate, but it appears that our political class are determined to imperial our democracy.
So let's assume that INEC hits Yaga's call, cancels the Kogi governorship elections in its entirety. Are you making any recommendations for actions to be taken before another election is held?
The first thing, yes. So tomorrow we are also going to address and will issue a statement because our colleagues from Bayelsa will be addressing the press conference tomorrow because we've got two teams, one in Bayelsa. And when we address the press conference tomorrow, we will articulate some of our recommendations. But key amongst them is the fact that how do we explain that the police deployed 35,000 policemen to Kogi, and we still recorded this level of violence and this level of thuggery and snatching of ballot boxes? You can see videos on social media. All those things actually happened. They were real. How come we had restriction of movement and these thugs were moving around the state, intimidating voters, as well as snatching ballot boxes and disrupting elections in key and different aspects of the state when there was restriction of movement?
So not just moving, but moving about relatively freely.
Yeah, yes, and moving in cars with hillocks, with uniformed men protecting them, and them actually having a field day and sporadic gunshots in the state capital. It was just unacceptable. And that's the lowest ebb that we can go as a people. And we've got to really rise up against these politicians. And my point of recommendation is the state needs to be alive to its responsibility. I hope that the president is reading these reports from this election. He's also watching. He owes Nigerians the responsibility to protect and provide security for citizens. In a situation where security was not guaranteed, and the police have also come out to say that the violence recorded in Kogi was so high, and therefore agency lies within the president as well as the police. So we've got to really ask our question, how come voters were intimidated, observers, media practitioners were intimidated and harassed and even beaten up in the full glare of security agents, and they did nothing? It just suggests that there was some measure of complicity, because what happened in Kogi was well orchestrated, it was organized, it wasn't spontaneous in any regard, it was just simply one of the tools in the playbook of election riggers, and that was exactly what manifested in the Kogi election yesterday.
Is there any party that is indicted more than the other, or you think it's equally, all these actions, it was an equal opportunity violation of the electoral process?
The two major parties are complicable. One was one who had control over the machinery of the state. Of course, will have that. I do suspect, because how is it possible that they have uniformed men who were protecting them? How is it possible with those thugs? If indeed you had 35,000 policemen that were deployed and there were other security agents, how come these two thugs went on rampage? And no one, till this moment, no arrest has been made.
Not one single arrest?
Not one single arrest. The police have not come out to say these are the numbers of arrests that have been made in the Kogi elections.
Is your observation for the governorship election the same as for the senatorial?
Absolutely, because these are...
That the senatorial should be cancelled as well?
Yes. There are two different elections, but they all happened at the same time. And all of these were there were similar issues that also plagued those elections. In terms of violence, in terms of disruption, you can see how we're counting bodies in just governorship election and senatorial elections. Or how do you explain the fact that people were chased away from their polling units with so much enthusiasm, defying all odds, and even in the light of the threat in the pre-election period, but they were all chased away. How do you explain that?
Okay, what time is the Yaga press conference tomorrow on the Bayelsa and Kogi elections?
No, for Bayelsa election, it's going to be tomorrow afternoon. Currently, my colleagues are in Bayelsa, also following the process, and are in our data center in Bayelsa. We hope that they will get to Abuja early tomorrow, and we'll have a press conference in the afternoon.
Okay. All right. Okay, thanks so much, Samson. We look forward to hearing from you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and please stay safe. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, bye.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure speaking with Samson Otodo, Yaga Africa. And just when we thought, Rotimi, that this entire thing was going to wind up, it does appear that the Bayelsa collation is going on as planned. It does look like they like to work at night. So I've just been online with Joshua Rogers and Suebi, our crew, and they tell me that Southern Ijaw, huge local government area there, and the result is out for that one, been announced, and we're going to go shortly to them, and we will be getting the live feed already on Facebook. We're streaming that.
This is a huge margin.
Yeah, huge.
Southern Ijaw.
Yeah, Southern Ijaw, APC 124,803, PDP 4,898. That's the heart of Ijaw land, which has been claimed by the APC.
During Shagari time, this is what was referred to as moonslide.
Yeah, this is a moonslide. In fact, the margin it doubles what was the original margin. This margin is about 120,000. But before this result came in, the margin was 86,000. Now, with this 100,000, 120,000, you have the margin between the APC and PDP in Bayelsa State now standing at over 200,000. Unbelievable. So we have only one local government to go now, which is Ekeremo.
But there are some serious complaints going on by multiple agents in Yenagoa. So I don't think they are all accepting this.
Yes. So we'll get in touch now with Joshua Rogers. So once we get in touch with Joshua Rogers, we can then have some conversation around what is going on here. But Rotimi, this is huge in terms of the way the politics is shaping now in the South. This was supposed to be the PDP's strongest hope.
When they finish with this Southern Ijaw and do Ekeremo, after the Ekeremo, then, according to the process described by our correspondents earlier, they would then go inside, finalize the paperwork, come out, read the final tally, and all the agents will sign if they so agree. So, even if it takes, these complaints seem to be going on for a while from various party agents. But even if they finish this and go on to Ekeremo, they may be there till 9:30, 9:45. Then they take a break to go and do the final collation. It may take an hour or two, depending on how quickly. Even if they announce this tonight, it may be 11, 12.
Yeah, take a while. So once more, before we hook up with the INEC State Collation Center in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State Capital, the results you're getting, the reactions to straight away will be from Southern Ijaw, where the All Progressives Congress polled 124,803. To the People's Democratic Party's 4,898. So here are the reactions. Okay. Plenty of drama. Emotion is boiling over. Those appear the polling agents appear not to agree with a number of things. One of the agents had said.
One of the agents stood up and challenged the officials and said he repeated the total tally so far.
Yeah.
And said, So I'm assuming that he's not from APC.
Most definitely.
Because he stood up and said, APC 590,000, PDP 156,000. What kind of democracy is this?
And then they told him to go to court, and almost came to fisticuff. And a policeman came in at some point to try and.
That policeman, you were saying that this looked like an edition of Ichoku. Well, the older audience members. If you remember Ichoku, you must be rolling on the floor by now.
Yeah, it looks like an episode of Ichoku we're watching here.
The policeman looked like a district head.
Master.
The whole thing looked like a district officer. All that was remaining was for him to pull out his condo, his big stick, and wave it at everybody. And all the others were pointing and shouting, and it just looks like a very rowdy village meeting down there in Yenagoa. And we are thinking that, well, after this Southern Ijo, which is where the moon slide that has triggered those reactions, that after that it will be a Keremo. But I think the other parties, especially the PDP, are thinking that this gap may be insurmountable according to what has been presented so far. So I'm not sure whether that guy's goal was even to stop the process.
Apparently, it looks like a weak attempt because you have all the other party agents there, and he had at some point said that this is the greatest shock of his life. He's seen party agents after the other stand up and say everything was fine and dandy in the garden, that they will meet in court. But let's hear the APC's agent, what he has to say. Apparently, they've allowed him to speak.
On the way to Yenagua, the reforming officer, the one officer, left them. Six left. He was not left the others and went into government house and was heavily induced. And then he came back here to tell INEC officials that he's trying to resolve other events. And the question you ask him, if at the time he finds the result of that event, he took that time and in the evening, when the results are related, a period of about 6 or more than 12 hours. Who did the bottle? Was the PTO in that place aware that he finds other events? We are aware of the same illegal. Well, as my mother was telling, was saying, I am finding other events. Did he inform any of the result officials as was well that was finding out the result of other events? No. Was any result official, both the military, the police, the civil defense, the SSS, and other security agencies are aware that he was telling them to no. That was an afterthought. He tried his well to resolve in peacefulness in the due conduct of his duty. But however, because he has been evident in peace, he came here to change. Now, my problem is the past system INEC was the best. In future elections, people will find the dog and say, I'm going to give me money, I will change. And then people will take their money and they will put it down that they sign that election. And so, signing that election becomes the norm. Please, in as much as we are setting this result, I want to warn that the consultation of this was without any concrete evidence poses a threat to credible elections in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I'm making a question about this. There is no time when you should not them I want to see that for those honest, we are solution and that is point. For those who are emotional, now we will do all on our people. Another job, I have a job trying to do the election. Where so many of them, everybody likes to and because of that, they got the very good. Now, if you want to new phase, a new phase of technical results in the election. Once someone is not like, and people don't complain of the high results and set aside all the guidelines because nobody dies, they're very credible. Even the was traveling was what I did. And yeah, it was maybe the multiple companies. Those who are not against doing have been led by this sort of team. So what I'm going to do is to cancel anywhere. But the good is that
All right, so that is it with all the drama from Southern Ijaw. The returning officer from the local government has finally submitted the result sheet to the state rec. So,
I think the PDP agent is looking shell-shocked.
Yeah, looking shell-shocked,
yes. The PDP agent is looking shell-shocked. You can't believe his eyes or his ears for that matter.
590,937 to 156,464. I think when the total that dawned on him what had been going on, all those small margins, you know. And unfortunately, he didn't get much support from the other party agents in the hall who appear.
I mean, this is because 590,000 to 156,000. So it's a huge gap.
It's a huge gap. It's over. Good grief! My maths fails me here. It's about 440,000 margin. Where did I miss that? Where did I miss the?
I think the PDP agent also seems surprised that the other agents seem to be, if not supporting the APC agent, at least seem sympathetic to him.
Absolutely.
I think, so by the time they finish with the Keremon now, if these results stand, I really don't see this gap being closed.
It will take it will take a miracle for anything to happen from this point onwards. But Bayelsa had always, remember during the presidential election how we talked about how Bayelsa had made of all the south states had been growing in terms of support for the opposition over the years, and people hadn't really taken notice.
That is the opposition in Bayelsa.
Yes, in Bayelsa.
Which is the APC.
Yes. A lot of people had pointed fingers to the former governor of Bayelsa State who had moved to the opposition then, Timmy Praise Silva, who had, done some real groundwork then, but people had thought that wasn't much to look at.
I mean, if you are to look at it from that point of view, there could be an argument that the heavyweights that have gone from PDP to APC and that have also been rewarded with big positions at the national level have gone back home to talk to people and say, look, we are the center, we have resources. If you don't come our way, you may lose out on everything. So, I mean, if that is what is happening, again, there are a lot of things happening, demographics shifting that we can't see. Like we said earlier, we are not in a position to collect data and see. So, I mean, what we can see is the big man politics, the cross-carpeting, the defection, the big appointments at national level, a lot of resources being thrown at the state, and possibly also the PDP not being well organized, But as we were saying earlier in the day, I mean, whatever result is announced tonight, this won't be the end of it. Because in the popular imagination, I'm thinking that if the PDP raises questions and says, for instance, something like, how can a party without a candidate, with one local government to go, have almost 600,000 votes, and the ruling party is still at 156,000.
I mean, this sort of margins we have. Quickly look at when Goodluck Jonathan was president.
And those,
sort of margins he got when he was.
And those kind of questions will resonate with some people, because people, so who did the people vote for? Of course, APC will argue back and say, well, it's the party name on the ballot box,
right,
not the candidate. But you need candidates to inspire people to vote for the party. So easily, this is going to end up in court.
Right.
But the other important thing, which we were also saying earlier, was that if INEC declares APC the winner tonight, the fight within APC for who will then clinch the ticket after the victory. People keep saying this thing of you don't put the cart before the horse. I mean, this has happened tonight. The cart is well ahead of the horse.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the horse is fighting back, following happily, but a party seems like it may win without a candidate. Which means that party, there will be a lot of infighting inside that party to then claim the candidacy. It's not going to be funny at all. I think we are in for a lot of drama. I hope it doesn't end up in violence. It's not looking.
Yes, because most definitely this looks very likely to be ended in the courtroom. So this is what they call the interregnum.
Both within the winning party, if they are declared the winner tonight or tomorrow morning, and the losing party and other parties challenging them.
Exactly. This interregnum that began with all of the court drama on the eve of the election, people had predicted that it will drag on even after this poll. Nightmare scenario we're having now, where the party that's in the middle of all that drama is likely to win.
This is a very interesting press statement from the APC. APC hails the security arrangements for the exercise and commends the electorate for protecting the ballot boxes.
Yeah, in Kogi and Bayelsa state.
I can see a lot of people shaking their heads.
Interestingly, we got a lot of videos of people on the run. All right, I think that we have Joshua Rogers. If he can hear us, he's finally been able to steal from the interregnum. Hello, Joshua.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah. We were just watching some of the drama. I don't know whether you saw Ichoku as a child growing up, the drama where you had. Forget Joshua. Did you see Ichoku?
Yes. As a matter of fact, this was how today's collation started. Exactly when we started, before the first local government area was collated, the PDP agent picked up the microphone and then asked INEC why they allowed the APC to participate in the election when a court has asked that they should not be part of the election. And then a similar scenario played out. And before it was now agreed that this point is not where you reject results, here you collate them. And if you have any problem or any issue with the results collated at this point, you have to go to the tribunal to get that sorted out. If you have any issue that's arising from pre-election matters, then you can still go back to the courts to clarify and get interpretation of whether judgment that has been delivered. Now, at that point, we now proceed to this point that we are now. But when it does not favor one political party, especially when you are from that area, after the drama, there was an agent that spoke, I think UDP. He showed the ink on his finger that he voted. He is from Southern Ijaw. His ghost candidate is from Southern Ijaw. That they both of them voted, but they scored 0 here. So he's asking what happened to at least his vote.
It's a very dramatic situation.
It's a very dramatic
the Southern Ijaw has now been, the result has now been submitted.
It has been submitted, it has been accepted and submitted. Though the PDP rejected, yes, it will be a ceremony, waiting for the collation officer to come in, and that will be all. The person is within the premises, they've gone to call the collation
He's not
to come in.
On the way somewhere.
No, it's not.
From the size of the votes or the population in Ekeremo, it's 9 minutes after 9 now. If there is no drama, how long do you think it will take Ekeremo to be done?
Well, when we finish the other 6 local government areas, people were actually afraid. They were scared of what will happen when they announce the Ekeremo. Like, not that there will be violence, but they know that the result coming from Southern Ijaw will always determine who wins the election in Bayelsa State. So now that the Southern Ijaw has been settled, it looks like there is the challenge ahead is not too big. Ekeremo may not be that difficult to cross, because it's obvious they've argued the point out right now with Southern Ijaw. The APC has won in Southern Ijaw, even though the APC also rejected the cancellation of Ward 12 votes because ballot papers were snatched that day, according to the collation officer. The APC rejected it by a particular unit, that it shouldn't be a trend that somebody, a collation officer will say he signed the result under duress, therefore it should be cancelled. But the PDP rejected it in the entirety, the whole of the results rejected by the PDP. And then the PDP is asking INEC not to allow this narrative that because no one died during an election, therefore that election is credible. So there are...
Hopefully by 10 p.m. take a break to tabulate the whole thing.
Exactly.
Another half hour or an hour or more. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's done manually now. There is little way of doing it. As you can see, let me project this for. As you can see across there is a projector. So the Excel is being projected.
In a computer?
Yes. So already this one that have been collected is just for
so it was
the
manual
IT
transmission of results,
using the Excel. So
but they will have a computer to tabulate the final one.
Even when they finish, the collation officers finish calling out the results, they have to confirm from what the Excel is given that the figures are corresponding. Otherwise, you go and reconcile your figures with them before you submit the final sheet of the result to the
So that will be
officer.
To the computer and projected?
Yes, as they call 0, 1, party A 0, party B 1, the people are also entering it and projecting it.
But you think there is a chance we may have a Bayelsa result announced by midnight?
I strongly think so.
To do a Kogi, that they will announce the final result in the morning.
But I don't know what will delay that. If they can have a ceremony now in the next 30 minutes, then they should be able to announce the result. Except that they have another reason or there is an information they are privy to But I'm not seeing, from the eye of a journalist, I'm not seeing any challenge.
Joshua, have you heard anything from any of the major actors, that the candidates from the PDP and the APC as results have come in?
Yes, the PDP candidate has addressed journalists. So he was there, so we will give an update on that. He was there. The PDP candidate, Senator Joey Diri, he addressed journalists before, as we were collecting the result, for the other 6 local governments. He addressed journalists.
So if you around the truth there.
It's not right inside the collation center because we are only granted access for one person. So it's either I'll step out to drink water, he will replace me. When I come, he steps out. But 2 of us can't stay inside.
So we need to reach Oboh to find out what the PDP candidate said.
Said, exactly.
Because you need to keep your eyes on what is happening inside the hall. Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing, Joshua.
Okay.
Is there some? I see some solidarity among the party agents for one party. Is this good?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes. A couple of almost all the political parties here have shown so much sentiment. They have this attachment to the APC candidates. As a matter of fact, a couple of them come from either Yenegua or Southern Niger, and they will tell you, they will comment the process. Even the man who was asking for his one vote for his candidate was still commending INEC for a peaceful election and that they have accepted it, but he wanted to just put it on record that they didn't give him his vote. I see some kind of protest. Before we arrived here, we had discussions, and a couple of people, apart from the issue of governance, there were people who were not comfortable with the way the PDP primaries went. They felt a lot of people were shut out of the system. So I also see that playing out here. Like, let it go to the APC instead of we not having it in the PDP.
All right, thank you very much, Joshua. And we'll keep looking at those visuals, waiting to connect with you once the Keremo is up there to be announced. But all right, but you just be out of sight for a while. Okay, Joshua Rogers. Soibi had that, was in that press conference, and so we'll have that conversation with him shortly, once we can get in touch with him.
The press conference with the PDP candidate. I think we should reach Shoy a bit to get us
let's reach
the details of what the PDP candidate is saying in response to the results that are unfolding and looking quite shocking. If these numbers hold up, this will be a big shock for the PDP.
Exactly. So, if you thought that the Kogi difference was something to think about, where before the last 2 local government results were coming in until tomorrow morning by 9, 466,134 to 151,566 to the PDP. That's in Kogi State. And think about 590,937 for the APC to 156,464 for the PDP. So 2 states, Rotimi, and it does appear the APC, whatever the strategy was, they be high-fiving themselves and saying that their strategy worked.
Well, so far, we still have to wait for INEC to announce the actual final results, but I guess members of the APC High Command may be rolling out the drinks now, thinking that the 2 local governments in Kogi and the 1 local government in Bayelsa won't be enough to reverse the figures or to. So, like all politicians do, they will be jubilating by now thinking to themselves that there's no way back for the other party. But as I said earlier in the day, whatever results INEC announces tonight or tomorrow morning, it's unlikely that this is the end of the process.
Right.
At all. I can see very, very long legal process unfolding, especially in Bayelsa.
Absolutely. It's something we're going to keep our fingers on, because the reactions will start to pour thick and fast when the morning breaks from tomorrow and people begin to see these margins. Rotimi, something Joshua mentioned, and I wanted to get your view on, is this thing people have talked about, the internal party democracy. And they had said many times that it's the primary stage of the elections that the wahala really happens. And it appears that once more, one of the parties, it looks like the PDP in Bayelsa State, not too many people were happy with how the process in selecting its standard bearer played out.
Because at the final rally, the final mega rally as they described it, a lot of PDP heavyweights were not present. And I suppose that was the first symbolic sign, if that's not tautology, that that some of the PDP bigwigs were not happy about the process, which we could interpret to mean that they are not entirely happy with how the incumbent governor supported the PDP candidate and maybe excluded the rest of them from the process. Maybe they wanted someone else. Maybe they just thought everybody's interest was not accommodated in the process. Who knows? Whatever the case, the internal party democracy doesn't quite seem to be holding up. But not that it's any better with the APC, because even though they are winning, they don't have a candidate. I can't imagine a worse situation to be in, for your party to be winning, but for you not to have an actual candidate. Okay. They won't be able to take office until the matter is sorted. That's the clear implication.
Right.
You can't. It may be your party name on the ballot box, but your party can't take office until you have a candidate.
Okay. All right. So now we have Soibi Oruwari. Hello, Soibi. Okay, good. So Soibi,
good evening. Yeah.
Good evening. So we learn the trick you guys are doing. One goes in, one goes out, and then the other.
Just like with INEC, saying that the party name on the ballot paper, the accreditation is for Nigeria Info. So
yes.
Okay, nice one. And thankfully, you're like the two Chinese brothers, so they can detect who is who when you go in and you go out.
Yes.
No, seriously, the accreditation is for the station, so you don't be bothered whether one person goes to the gents and the other person stays.
In fact, it's even better, because while he's inside and getting the feelers, I'm also outside getting the feelers. Not quite long, I left quickly to the PDP governorship candidate, where he called for an emergency briefing. I think following the insight he had about the declaration that is about to be made soon.
So what did the PDP candidate have to say?
He has accused the GOC commanding officer 6th Division, the outgoing GOC commanding officer 6th Division, of some complicity in cause of trying to help other security agencies in ensuring that there is peace, there is law and order in Oboh, particularly in Oboh local government area. He is alleging that the GOC is deeply involved. He deployed his men to favor a particular political candidate.
It's not clear what the PDP candidate is reported to have said. Is he saying that the GOC sided with one party?
That he's saying the deployment of security agency, particularly the military, who were not supposed to be in the election field, in the field for the election, were obviously, that is according to his word, were obviously seen, and they allegedly perpetrated the political violence that took place in Ogbia, LGA. Majority of the communities he mentioned that he saw army. This was the field. These were the field reports he got from his men in Ogbia local government. So he's asking that what role does this man? Why should the man play this type of role? That as a security officer, he expected him to maintain law and order, but the report he got from his men on the field shows that the man actually took sides and favored a particular political party, and even arrested two party stalwarts. Two of his party stalwarts.
And the logical question then to ask is, how did the reported, bias of the GOC directly affect the votes?
Yes. Now he's saying that majority of the elections in Ogbia did not take place. Where it took place, he was coasting to victory. That was what he told the press. That where it took place, he was in charge. But where it did not take place, the military used their system. That was what he said. That the military used their system to cut away both electoral materials and electoral officials. So,
and then when the results arrived, what had happened?
Already, results for Ogbia has been announced, and going by the figure, the margin. I think Ogbia APC had about 23,000, while PDP has about 10,000. The margin is about 10,000 over. So he is alleging that, look, this result is not going to accept it. He is waiting for the final declaration, but that he will personally challenge that of Ogbia, because he is aware that LGA was according to his word, oversaturated with military and on the order of the GOC.
Okay. Well, I mean, even these allegations are not very clear.
Yes.
Because, I mean, sometimes when some of these politicians make allegations...
Yes.
I mean, these are allegations which, if you interrogate it won't even be clear exactly what they are saying. Because are they saying people carted away the ballot boxes and went and printed them and returned them? Are they saying that their own supporters were not allowed to vote? Or are they saying, honestly, if I was still reporting from the field like this, any politician from any side that makes any claims will get 20 questions from me. Because they say things that are very vague, and then they leave you to try and interpret what they are saying.
Yes. We actually were not allowed to when they do this, their organized press briefing, they always gag the press, which even today I objected to it. But because it's not in my territory, I can't just want to raise certain questions. I was very careful in asking him one question. But he did say that election in this area did not hold, and that he is expecting that INEC should not announce certain results that he will never accept. That those areas his men gave him reports, he was coasting to victory. Though I have sent a text message to APC spokesman, he has not replied. I've also we're also making contact to the 6th Division spokesman. What are their defense to this allegation? Though sometimes this allegation could be something to investigate because he can't just come up to say, look, I saw military or I didn't see military. And when the military also played their role, it's also expected that they play the role in the letter, in the spirit of the letter.
All right.
It may well be that there is something wrong, but it may also be that they are not articulating it too well. But I mean, from a journalistic point of view, anybody that makes any claims, the claims
that
need to be interrogated so that it is clear what the person is actually saying, so that you don't go and report, something vague and people say, well, I mean, what exactly are you reporting?
Yeah, he is saying that, look, election substantially was marred. The electoral process was substantially marred owing to the involvement of the security, particularly the military, that did not allow the process to go as expected. That if the military had allowed this process to go as expected, he knows that he would definitely win. But even the report that is reaching him, as at when he got his own yesterday, he was still coasting to victory. But he has not only the military, he also joined the INEC, that the INEC and the military connive. And that is why he is raising this alarm that any result that is coming from particularly Oboh, the world should never accept it, and he is not going to accept it because he knew what happened before this result arrived. And
just before we let you go, Soebi, the contest in the Aghogho was closed. Just 5,000 separating both candidates. What's the reaction in town been like? People are waiting, I guess. What's the pulse of town?
Yes, we try to ask one or two persons what are their expectations, and they are expecting that results will be announced today. And the feelers I try to have is that they already settled with a particular political party. They already settled that it will never come to them as a surprise because of certain antecedents, because of certain happenings in the policy in Bayelsa State, that if it goes towards this way, they will never be surprised. That it's already expected. A lot of factors that they brought up, and I have also discussion with even journalists here that are residents in Bayelsa, also ticket towards that line.
All right, Soebi. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much. I mean, if it looks like they're about to finalize and you have big news, please let us know.
Of course, we're on ground. We land both the APC and PDP are already preparing to give a world press conference
tonight.
So yes, that's what I'm trying to gather because of the outcome of the results. Because one we want to reject, one we want to accept, one we want to celebrate, one we want to counter the celebration.
Okay.
And also, before I go, I also gather from the police. I spoke with the police PRO, though we could not come live. I spoke with him. He said they gathered that there is a threat to security in the state, and some persons are about to protest. And that protest, if it is not done within the confines of the law, they will never allow them. And strategically, their men have been deployed to ensure that law and order is maintained. He told me this, and I think I was the only one that he told this. But I gathered, I had the feeling because people were like, some apprehensive. So I started asking questions. When immediately I got the information, I asked him, and he confirmed that yes, they are aware that there is a protest that is about to take place. But that protest, if it is not done in the confines of the law, they will never allow it to take place.
Okay. Please, when they call their world press conferences, to the extent that they allow you to ask questions, if any of the parties makes allegations, please try and ask them to be clear about what either of them is alleging.
Yes, of course.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Soebi Oruwari, correspondent at the INEC state headquarters, Collation Center, rather, for the elections in Bayelsa State.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk some more. So please keep listening to our live election coverage studio.